Week 1 in the Leaders Division kicks off on a big stage out east. Penn State travels to MetLife Stadium, home to two NFL teams, the Jets and Giants, as the Nittany Lions battle Syracuse in a rivalry that dates back to 1922. A trio of Pac-12 matchups serve up interesting non-conference battles in Week 3. Ohio State's toughest non-Big Ten test has them heading to Berkeley to take on Cal. These two met last year, and the Buckeyes tamed the Bears in a hard-fought 7-point victory, as Braxton Miller lofted a 72-yard game-winning touchdown pass late in the fourth to a wide-open Devin Smith. Wisconsin will take the trip out west as well. New head coach Gary Anderson leads the Badgers to Tempe, where they'll battle Arizona State. This is a return game from 3 years ago, where Wisconsin won 20-19 at Camp Randall thanks to a blocked PAT late in the game. The Fighting Illini visit the Windy City to round out the third Pac-12 Big Ten matchup as they host the Washington Huskies at Soldier Field. This will mark only the second time in its 89-year history that Soldier Field will host the Illini. And it's been more than 4 decades since these two teams last met. In 1972, the Huskies secured a 31-11 win in Seattle. Meanwhile, Purdue's biggest non-conference test will come at home versus Notre Dame. The Boilermakers' last win over the Irish in West Lafayette came in 2007. This contest will be the first marquee opponent of new head coach Darrell Hazel's tenure and could be a statement game for the Boilers. Indiana's most interesting non-Big Ten battle takes place 4 weeks into the season, in prime time, right here on BTN. They'll face Mizzou for the first time since 1992, where the Hoosiers were victorious in Bloomington. This is also Indiana's first game against an SEC team since beating Kentucky at home in 2005.
Mike, thanks. Which of those non-conference games intrigues you the most?
Penn State, Syracuse. They have some history. It's a big-time opponent. New quarterback. We have to know by then, right? They have to tell us the first play. We have to find out the personality of this Penn State team. We knew the personality of last year's team. It was them against the world. One thing Penn State can do better this year than they did a year ago is get off to a fast start. They were 0-2 to get started with a year ago, Howard.
How about Wisconsin and Arizona State? I'm telling you, anytime the Badgers have to go west, it seems to be a struggle. Now, the results at the end look pretty good because they win the game, but they're going to be playing Arizona State late. It'll be 9:30 p.m. game. They're going to have to get going early in that one because they've had to come from behind to win games in the past.
Mike mentioned that Indiana-Mizzou game, too. Navy's a good measuring stick game for Indiana as well. A couple games there that if they can win one of those, that would really help them in that quest to get to a bowl. More from Mike now as we look at the conference schedule.
Conference play in the Leaders Division kicks off with a bang. Wisconsin heads to the Shoe to battle Ohio State under the lights. It'll be Gary Anderson's first Big Ten road game as Wisconsin's head coach, and a chance at redemption for the Badgers, who lost to OSU in overtime at Camp Randall last fall. October 12th will provide a powerhouse crossover battle when Michigan invades State College on homecoming weekend. A shootout commenced the last time these two programs met. Penn State downed the Wolverines 41-31 at Beaver Stadium in 2010. The path does not get any easier for Penn State, as October concludes with the Nittany Lions traveling to Columbus for a primetime clash. Penn State will look to play spoiler to the Buckeyes, who can return to the postseason this year and have their sights set on a BCS championship. Rivalry games take center stage the last week of the regular season for the Leaders Division, starting with Northwestern and Illinois. There is no love lost in this in-state battle, and Illinois has redemption on their mind after taking a 50-14 beating in Evanston last year. November 30th also sees Indiana and Purdue face off for the Old Oaken Bucket. It's been a lopsided competition of late, as the Boilers have held the trophy 9 of the last 11 years. Kevin Wilson and the Hoosiers' potent offense look to change the momentum and bring the bucket back to Bloomington. And finally, it's the game, Ohio State and Michigan. Always important, but this year it could be unique. Given the talent levels of each team, both could win their divisions this year and face each other 1 week later in the title game in Indy. They join the same division next year, so this is the one and only time that a back-to-back matchup could happen.
Thank you, Mike. Whose schedule do you find most interesting among the Leaders teams?
Indiana. You know, when you're a program like Indiana, schedule's one of the most important things that you have to deal with. The schedule gods didn't do Indiana any favors this year. I don't like the non-conference schedule, Navy and Missouri specifically. Crossovers at Michigan State, at Michigan, Minnesota at home. The Minnesota game is going to be huge. The winner will probably go to a bowl game. Good news for Indiana is they match up in 2 games in their division with Illinois and Purdue. I'm not sure the last time Indiana matched up so well in their division. The division's only been 2 years, but 2 Big Ten teams. That's good news for Indiana.
For me, it's Wisconsin, without a question, and more so for who they don't have to play. How about no Michigan State, no Nebraska, no Michigan? They've got a big matchup against Ohio State at Ohio State, but how about another interesting matchup against BYU down the lake? So I think things are setting up. You talk about having a coaching change, a new coach stepping in, and with all the talent that's on this team, I think the schedule sets up pretty well for the Badgers.
Very favorable, and I think along the same lines, very favorable for Ohio State. And this is part of the reason that there's been a lot of talk about the Buckeyes perhaps challenging for national title. This in combination with having a lot of talent. Toughest non-conference test figures to be that trip to Cal that Mike talked about. First 2 Big Ten games are challenging. Wisconsin at home, and then they go to Northwestern. Then obviously the finale in Ann Arbor. But along the lines of what Howard was saying, don't play Nebraska, don't play Michigan State. So very nice setup for Urban Meyer's guys.